Welcome back to KTM 690 Big Ball Bike Build. Why can't I say it? Today is a big day, it's a massive day. It's been a long time coming. It was supposed to be 2 to 3 weeks, actually it's been more like 6 plus. Oh my God, it's gonna be even longer because some of it's done already, but the main part of it is actually here. So today what we're gonna do, let me show you first, let me show you, I'll show you. Hold on. I haven't even opened it yet. Let me open it. Ready? That looks spectacular. Which way up does it go? That way. Nice. The main reason I did it, see that there? That's where the bike knocked it over and it hit the other bike just there on the swing arm. So I had to sand it off as best I could. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. Anyway, super pleased with it. Let me go and get the other bits. Hold on. I haven't actually seen these in daylight yet. This should be pretty. Don't drop it, Mike. Don't drop it. Woo. Oh, that is bright. Check that out. Oh yeah, that is right nice. It's just a stock, but I just wanted to change the colour, freshen it up. You know, make it nicer, but without, you know, going overboard. I love it, of course. It's way brighter than I expected it to be. It's kind of almost luminous hunter orange, whatever that is. Yeah, man. And you know what that means? That means that today I can put the bike together. I can do rolling chassis, you know what I mean. So we're going to get the, why can't I speak? I'm going to get the frame. I'm going to put the, I've got to put the head bearings in place on the triples. Oh, it's never as quick as you want it to be. This is where I get impatient. I start doing things too quickly. I've got to slow down. So, head bearings in place. I've got to get the frame. Basically, I've got to get the swing arm on the frame and the wheels, ideally. So I can just have it in place so I can just start putting stuff onto it. Probably the wrong way to do it. I'm going to figure this out as I go along. But, you know, let's get into it. Tip of the week, tip of the day, oh God knows what kind of tip it is. This vice, don't buy it. Link below, it is rubbish. Oh my God, I just picked it up and dropped it on the floor. Oh no, can't really see, yeah, it's a bit chipped. In here, loads of tiny little spiders. They are going to die. Just a bit of silicone spray. Headrace bearings first. I've got a few little tricks on my sleeve for this. That's that. Goes there as well. Rubbish. These are not the same. 35446. These are the same. So that one's the small lip one. That one's a double lip one. So that one goes on there. The races, these bits here, I'm not going to put them in because I actually did change the head bait. Oh my God. I'm not going to put them in because I did change the Headrace bearings only about 3 weeks before the crash. So I don't see any reason why I'm going to need to put in new ones of these. Just got to replace this on here. Bit of the old lithium based grease. Oh my God, it's so slippery. Ooh. Feels like it's well packed. Put some on there. To be honest, I'm going to put on a little bit more. It's actually solid with grease. Come on. I can see into it, which means it can take more. Come on. Absolutely jam-packed. So my little trick is to, when you take off the old bearings, you're left with one of these. If you cut a little slice out of it, you can then use it to slide over as a tapping point to hammer down your new bearings. But these are from a different bike. So I'm gonna have to be super careful and just go in and just, you know, just be gentle. That's literally all you need to do. You don't need the giant like tusk phallic tool to it. It's so simple, especially if when you change it, you remember to take the old inner race or inner bearing mount thing and just cut a little slice out of it so it's flexible, so you can just slide it over and then you can just properly just whack that one down. But it's not the end of the world if you just have to give it a little tap. You just have to have a pretty good aim with a nice big flat head. Ooh. You have to make sure that you're not hammering in the gap or in that outside gap, just right on the actual bearing inner. It does take a while. Remember, you're not trying to hit it hard because you don't want it to become completely off balance. That'd be bad. Real bad. Just Nice steady taps, and you'll hear the sound start to change as you get to the bottom. That is a nice even sound. Now, online people will say you've got to put a socket underneath there to stop it from popping out. But on these bikes, the stem is actually bolted in, so you don't have to worry about that. It's not going anywhere. Once that's done up, not moving. All right. So now that we've got it on, my thinking is always that you can't have too much grease. Lithium-based grease. Thanks, Ian, for making sure that I double checked that it was lithium based. Yeah, I did some research actually online and definitely found that the whole red versus blue versus weak old jizz coloured is colourant for the most part. You just have to look at the ingredients to know if you've got the right grease. So is it lithium grease? And sometimes it's blue, sometimes it's red, sometimes it's jizz coloured, but just check the ingredients and make sure it is. So this one's a high melting point, waterproof grease, obviously. Lithium grease, as is my other one that's in the thingy, but it's not red or blue. From what my research showed me is that the colorant is there to help you know that you've used it in certain applications. So you can check, for instance, you can look at something and be like, oh look, it's covered in red grease, which means that it is greased, whereas this grease can be harder to spot in some situations. That is greased. Come on. Can't wait to change this thing, even though it's new. I've got a new one. Yeah, look at that, that's fine. It's just got bugs crawling around on it. Oh, grease, because why not? Grease. Let's pack it up. As much as rolling it's great, I find that actually physically pulling it down into that gap actually makes much more of a difference. Because it gets to the point where the rollers don't really roll until they're under pressure, which only happens when they're clamped in. So rolling it in your hand doesn't actually make that much of a massive difference. So if you can see a little gap, then force it down into it. If you're a simpleton like me, you'll be amazed at how much grease you can actually pack into these things. I mean, is it possible to overpack something? Is that a thing? Rolly roll, roll, roll. Push up and down. See if any gaps appear. See, look, all that grease is now mostly, mostly inside. Because it can't hurt to have a bit more grease. Come on. Oh, doesn't it look nice? Just watch all that grease come pouring out the sides. Grease locked. Right, so there you go. Going nowhere. All I've got to do now is go through the massive pile of bags to try and find all the bits that go on there. Wicked. Now that goes on there. Look at it. Why didn't I send this off to be cerakoted? Oh, what a missed opportunity. But I'm at least going to clean that. I'm just going to, do you know what? Fuck it. Let's put it in the ultrasonic. I'll give it 40 minutes while I have some lunch. Boom. 40 minutes later. Yeah, most things are better in black. I reckon that's a quick blast with the older VHT matte black in the oven for, what, hour and a half? I mean, that's not very energy efficient, but hey. All right. That was what, an hour in the ultrasonic cleaner and then a couple of coats of the paint and then in the oven for an hour and a half, slowly getting to 220 degrees centigrade. That looks mega. That's going to go on there. Realistically, I should have just cerakoted it. It's going to look dreadful covered in grease. Matte finish paint. It's not going to go well there. Before I do though, standard. You can never have enough grease. I mean, by all means, chime in if you reckon that you can have enough grease. Way back, first few times I did head bearing changes, I realised that I was getting notched bearings really quickly. Like, really quickly. Doing a bit of research, I kind of realised that I wasn't adding enough grease. And then over time I started to realise that if you really go to town on the grease, and your head bearings do genuinely last way longer, like an incredible amount of time. Oh! Wouldn't normally bash it on like that, but when it comes to pointlessly spending money, this is obviously going to go on there. I decided, I was like, oh, I don't really want it to be that colour, because I was going to do these black. Yes, see. So I just bought the newer version black one. And it's only after this arrived that I realised that I'd ordered this around the time that I'd sent all of this stuff off to get cerakoted. So I could have just cleaned this and told them to do it black. Egypt. I can break out the new torque wrench, or one of the new torque wrenches, or one of three. I've got a really low torque, mid-range one, and a big ass heavy duty one. And this is 10. Not bad. Tell you what, there's one thing I won't miss about the rally fairing. Admittedly, with the Generation 1 navigation tower that I had all up here, it restricted the turning circle. It's super annoying. These older models don't have the best turning circle as it is. To even lose just a little bit of it took a bit of getting used to, because I can't really pivot turn yet. That was not graceful. I think it's a nice little touch that they show you the exact amount that you need, just so you don't go full gorilla. What's this, 17? 17 is always more than I expect it to be. And then 12, 10 plus 2. Ooh, the contrast of the black. This is going to get exciting. But it's starting to rain, so I have to stop. Right, on to the swing arm. If you're ever wondering what 110 kilograms of phallus looks like, no, not like that. It looks like this. So in episode 1, when I was taking this out, the engine sits on that bit, swing arm sits on, and the frame sits on those bits there. And I was using this to, it was this end I was doing it on, for all the threads that are in the inside are shot. So this is now rubbish. Got to buy a new one. Awesome. I swear, this project, literally every day, there's like a minimum 100 quid that I've got to insert because of something that I've done wrong, or a part that I forgot to order that I didn't realise I had to get stuck. Oh! I think I can still use it to do a rolling frame though, and I'll just put in the new one when the new one arrives. Ooh, look at that. Baked that in the oven. Looks like it's made out of charcoal now. That's the Touratech fin for the brake rotor on the back. Oh, it's hot. So it's all back together. That looks pretty nice. I need to get another bolt for there, but it's all back on. So when I took off this bit on the last one, in these recesses here and here, they had, I'm certain they were meant to be there, like little black plugs that went in, but I've just checked on the parts fiche and nothing of the sort. I don't really want that to just fill with mud and gack, so go and fill it in. It's not really what it's for, but I've got some black silicone, or silicone. They are different. That's one. Must not chip paint work. Two. Give that a few hours to dry. While those bits are drying, I popped out, got myself some 12mm threaded stainless steel bar, because the vise is a Chateau Merde and I need to get the bearings in. Yeah, like I said at the beginning of the video, don't buy that vise. I'll put a link in the description. Do not buy it. They said to me that they would like to reimburse me £7 for the 40 quid that I paid for it. And I get to keep a knackered vise and £7. Wicked. My theory is use threaded bar. Right, so 3 bolts. I know this is not the best way to do this, but these are drying. The workbench is occupied with the frame. The vise is screwed. This is just what I'm just gonna have to deal with. How's it gonna work? So let's pop this in there like that. That will go in and over like that. Bring it back a bit. On this side, I've got 27. So you've got 1 bolt showing outside the 27. That presses up against there, like it is so. Bearing goes on, then this goes over the top, just fits in there. And then a nut goes over the top of this and we tighten it down and it forces the bearing in. Right, so let's put that to the test. Before I pop them in, I think it's a good idea to pop on some grease. This is just to help it slide in. This isn't to grease the bearings themselves. Let's make a dog's dinner of this. So these have got a bit of grease on them already. And that's going to go in there. Got this thing here, keeping it a bit more level. 3 bolts, a washer, 24mm, which just fits in the hole, just enough to flatten it out so it's got a flat surface. That's keeping it straight because that's flush on the inside lip. Then we've got the bearing, we've got the 24 washer, so it's flat against the back of the 24, and then a bolt. So let's see if it works. Oh yes, look at that. Easier than the vise. And because the 24 will not fit inside this, once it gets tight, I know that it's flush. Don't go gorilla. That feels like it's flush. Let's see if my ingenuity is any good. Perfectly flush. Just to be absolutely certain, I'm going to put the flat side down. Once that's all tightened up, that bar is exactly in the middle on the other side anyway. So just to be sure. Oh yeah, just a little bit more to go. Boom. That's perfect. That fits in there. That fits on there. There it is. That's the written on side. I'm going to start with flat side in, just because I'm impatient. Yes. I'm quite pleased with that. I know it's basic AF, but come on. Turns out, a load of nuts, a bit of threaded phallus, and they're it. Oh, and I've followed that. Oh. In and in. So what have we got left? Seals, a little kind of washery thing which goes on outside of each side. Before I do any of that, I've got to fill this hole with lube. Really get much into those bearings as possible. They do come greased, but like it's not even nearly enough. And as you'll have seen from earlier on in the video, I'm going with more grease is better. Grease locked. These are slightly bigger, so I'm going to go with the 27 because it doesn't fit into the hole, but we'll get it flush. I can get a better view for you. Better? It's great. Don't even need any heat. It just... Yep, that's flush. Perfect.
Perfect.
Show you. There's a little tiny bit of space for, you know, something, so I'm going to fill that with grease. Flush with grease. So on the other side, apparently these go in first. And before I put it in, I'm just going to start it off with a load of grease. Flush enough. I've got to say, if you look at how to do this on Tinternet, there's so much stuff about, as always, you go to Rocky Mountain, you go to this, you go to that, whatever, and they say, get the Tusk tool, which is basically a load of different size bits that you use to either go over or under or press in or whatever, when in fact, really, if you've just got a bit of threaded bar, a load of nuts, and a good selection of, you know, if you like, that's for taking off the rear wheel, that's for taking off the front wheel, that one's for steering head nut. So if you've got some bits to do your bike, you've probably got enough. And this threaded bar, these bolts and whatever, was like £4.20. It's so easy to do it with this. It just takes a bit of patience. Come on. And if you listen carefully, you can probably hear my brain pushing through a tiny little stupidity barrier. There you go. And there we go. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure it would be quicker and easier with a proper pressing tool. But is it really much different to just having a selection of sockets and washers and stuff? Is it? Nice and flush. All we got left is the new sleeves and the new caps. Grease that up, a bit of grease on the inside. Oh yeah. Right, so I got the bearings in, I got the seals in, the little retention plate thingy in on either side. I put it all back together, like filled it with grease, greased it up proper, and then I thought, right, I need to get some stuff off the camera. So I'm gonna just spend a day editing and, you know, just doing all that stuff. And I'm editing and I'm editing. I finished editing the footage from 2 days ago where I put all the bearings in. And I found myself sitting there at like 3 in the morning. Something didn't feel right, something's wrong with what I've just done. And just when I was about to go to bed, I'm just gonna check the parts fiche and see what it says. Right? This is what I was talking about when there's tiny little things that go wrong and it takes you a little while to work out. It's like a gut feeling. It's just, I'll try and explain as best I can. In fact, I'll show you. Here it is. These little things on the parts fiche, they're called the, what are they called? What, how have I forgotten that already? They're called the buckets for the shaft seal ring. Now, put it all together and I'm like, don't remember them protruding at all. Not only do they protrude, but you can move them right to left. And I'm thinking, surely that would mean that it does it on both sides. That means that the swing arm can move right to left. I don't remember there being any spaces that fit around them. 3 in the morning, I started doing research and discovered that the bearing repair kit, which gives you 4 needle bearings, the seals and the sleeve and the buckets that go on the end for $6.90. And I'm thinking this is going to be true for almost, that could be wrong, I think this is true for every $6.90 Enduro and SMC, possibly the 701s as well, because I did find a single post on Tinternet indicating that someone else had a similar problem where they were too wide almost. And so I finally worked out that the swing arm bearing repair kit for this model should begin with 765. That was superseded by another swing arm bearing repair kit which starts with 789, and then that's been superseded by another one that starts with 790. My research shows the buckets that came in the original 765 EP05 bearing repair kit that's got different depth buckets. I'm like, what, is that really a thing? So I had to go through the rubbish in the bin to find one of the old ones that I'd thrown away. I'll see if I can get it on camera and show you the difference. See, look, well, obviously that one looks tired and old. You can probably immediately see, I'll place it on my thumb, there's a slight depth difference. Well, not only is there a slight depth difference, the little lip on the inside, who knows if this will focus, see if I can get it to capture this. The lip in this one is about 1 millimeter tall, whereas the lip in this one is about 4 millimeters, maybe 3. Not sure if you can make that out. Let me show you the difference. So I managed to find 2 of these. So I'm going to put 2 in one side and the other, the new ones from the newer 790 kit in the other side, so you can see the difference and how it fits. 3 in the morning. Right, new. It's pressed in as hard as I can press it and it moves from side to side. Can you see that? And that's the same sleeve on the inside, but the old style buckets that go in the end. And that is just ever so slightly, only a tiny bit, talking like 0.5 millimeter either side, which will still allow the swing arm to swing without grabbing on the actual swing arm itself and tighten down. Whereas with this, so the kit looks the same on paper. It's only when you break down what comes in the kit and you go through individual parts and check the part numbers. The new kit is more focused on competition bikes, the 450s, the 300s and all that stuff. The bearings that come with it, the seals that come with it, even the sleeve on the inside, they're all correct, but the only difference is the buckets. So this is the one you need for the 690. Not sure about this one. This one definitely doesn't fit, just so you know. And if you try and buy all the individual components, so what's that? 4 bearings, 4 seals, 2 sleeves, 2 retaining washers, and 4 buckets, that would come to, I think it's £5 shy of double the price of buying the kit, which is why you need to make sure when you do your bearings and your swing arm, get the right kit, because the superseded new version, that fit, get me. 2 days later, 765. Thanks, Rowan, much appreciated. Hopefully that's the last thing that stands in the way of getting this chassis rolling. Before these go in, I'm going to get as much grease in there as possible. So my theory is, so much grease in there, there's no way for water to get in, because it's aqua-locked, technically, grease-locked, I suppose. And the same on this side, don't know if you can see that. So that once these go in, it should almost be hard to put them in because there's so much grease in there. They should just kind of, under the pressure, pop back out. Once it's squeezed into the frame, any excess grease should come out the side and technically grease that area. Not that I won't grease it anyway, but you know what I mean. Push that one in. That's flush on the other side. So yeah, I'm just going to do both sides and then we'll put it on. Before I chuck the swing arm back in, just going to so obviously the idea is chain can run over it, but because it's silicone it kind of sticks in there. So when it comes to change this, and God knows how many miles, I can just pop it out and all I've got to do is just scrape the silicone off, and rather than having to fight through loads of corrosion on the bolts. Whoa! Just missed my toe. Already looks mega. Oh, for fuck's sake. Is it always harder, or is it just that you forget stuff? Right, if you're doing enduro to supermoto conversion, you have to cut out a section out of your mudguard, your mud flaps, or your fork guards, whatever you want to call them. Come on. I forgot to do that. It involves taking the forks off unless you cut down the back and then stitch them together. Problem with that is you've then got these cable ties, or however you stitch it back together, then rubs on the neoprene protectors on the inside and cuts them up and destroys them. So you literally have to take the jeffing forks off. I'm gonna try it with the Dremel. Look at that. Perfect right off the bat. Boom. Come on. Oh, it's amazing how much better you feel about something when it has wheels. I've just got this really amazing feeling today. I feel like this bike is going to be absolutely badass. I'm really excited about it. Thanks for watching. It's probably been a really, really long one. Like and subscribe, comment, tell me what you think. Oh, and share. That would be mega. This is going to be amazing. Thanks for watching.